Mira, with your permission, may I get started?
Yeah.
Right. Welcome, everybody, to 52 Living Ideas. We are here to celebrate the spirit of my friend Yasuhiko Kimura. Um, it is very interesting. Whenever I think of him, what happens is that I see and hear his laugh. That's what happens every time I think of him. This full, joyous laugh, full of enthusiasm for life, with total glee and without anything held back. I've heard it so many times, it rings in my ears, and I've always heard it accompanied by something very profound that has been said, and then he speaks, then he laughs. So I can hear him in my head, I can see his face, and that's what happens every time I think of him. And now I did not know him as much as I would have liked. And most of you here had the fortune to know him a lot more. So to me, I am just so grateful to all of you because this is you know, such a gift that you're giving to me and to each other, I think, each of us, because he was so deep, so multifaceted, and so focused on the person or persons that he was talking to, that what he gave to each of us was different because he had so much to give. And here we can share what part, what little part of Yasuhiko we have. And hopefully, as a result of that, of seeing him from more perspectives, we get to know him more. And so I'm going to start with, of course, Mira. Mira, please take as long as you want. And then we'll go to people who have spoken, who have known him for a long time. And then we will go to people like me or Evanik who don't know him as well as we would have liked. Though he spent a lot of time. We've spent a lot of time with him. So that's the plan. So uh, with that, let me hand it over to Mira. Mira, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So glad to see you all. Srikant, thank you so much for organizing this gathering. It means a lot to me. And thank you, everyone who participate. I'm looking forward to listening to all of you. You all know how brilliant Yasuhiko was. What a great thinker he was. But I would like to share with you what a wonderful husband he was. I met Yasuhiko 2005 on a lecture in New York City for the reaches of human consciousness. And I was like amazed, fall in love with his philosophy. That first night I heard him talk. And then that weekend, he had a seminar, passion workshop. And I attended that passion workshop. And at the end, he told every participants something about them. And he had that uncanny ability to tune in into person. And he can see directly to your soul. And usually, most of the time, he knew more about people than they know about themselves because he was so tuned in. And at the end of that workshop, he said to me, Mira, you are the most singular person I ever met. And that was the greatest compliment I ever received from the man. And I will never, ever forget that. Um, I attended many, or actually all of his seminars he gave to New York City. He would do every month some new seminar. Then we started a 1 year program. And in the August of 2007, he moved to New York and we start living together. And then in 2008, March, 3rd March 2008, we got married. He also told me, Mira, we have the same essence with a different expression. And you cannot find more different expression than Serbian and Japanese. They are such opposed cultures. And he really knew my soul, truly more than I knew myself. And he loved me for who I am, with all my imperfections, with all my faults. He loved me. He was the strongest man I ever met. Mentally, with the will. He had amazingly strong will. I always call him my Japanese samurai. But besides being strong, he was extremely tender and gentle. And that is such a rare combination for the man. Having that strength and at the same time having that amazing tenderness. Our life was really evolution of consciousness. He never tried to change me, but he changed me tremendously. He changed me so much that when I look back at the person before Yasuhiko and after Yasuhiko, they're two different people. He always said, every relationship needs evolutionary tension and creative friction. And that is necessary for the growth. And the greatest growth you can have in a relationship who has that evolutionary tension and creative friction. that sculpt our soul. He taught me what true love is. True love is tender. But for me, as a Serbian girl, love always was tough. Has to be tough. He said I opened his heart, but I think even more he opened my heart to the tenderness and gentleness. Our love somehow melted us, and I experienced that as a two bodies, one being. You don't know when one starts, another ends. I know he will be my love, true love forever. And I look forward to meeting him one day again because I miss him. I miss him so much. Every moment of my life remind me of him. Everywhere I look, it's him. I sit in his office and look in his books or open his computer. He's everywhere. I want to tell you, on the New Year Eve, friends invited me to join them, but I just couldn't. I'm not still in the mood for celebration, and I don't want to spoil other people's celebration. And I stayed home alone. That was the first time I was alone for the New Year's Eve. And I made myself a dinner, and I put Yasuhiko's picture in front of me and light the candle. And then I said, baby, if you're here with me, please blink the candle that I know you are here. And you're not gonna believe it. The candles start, flames start jumping, jumping. And I said, I knew you were gonna be with me. You will not let me be alone. And then I kind of had a conversation with him. I said, do you remember our New Year's Eve on the Danube River in Serbia? And that that helped me go through the New Year's Eve. And anyway, constantly I'm talking with him throughout the day, assuming he is there and he can hear me. It's a tough time, but you know, they said as much love you can experience, that much pain you can experience. It's like a pendulum swinging from one side to another, you know? And I experienced so much pain, but all this pain is worth it because time I spend with him is priceless. It was my honor to be his wife, and I will cherish him forever.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mira. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to invite people to speak. Please take your time to speak. You can either raise your hand in Zoom or type an exclamation mark in chat. We're going to start with people who have known Yasuhiko for many years. So that is most of you, except the people from 52 Living Ideas. Welcome to speak. People from 52 Living Ideas will speak last. So who would like to go next? If you wish, you can just unmute and speak.
I'll go. Oh, Joey, you go.
Okay, we'll go to Joey and then Belinda.
You're more senior, Krista, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay, let's go with Krista.
You said the people who know the longest.
Yes. If there are two people who want to speak, whoever knows him longest
I
gets.
don't know who's known him longest, but first of all,
Go.
it's great.
I think I go after Ambika, maybe.
Great
Anyway,
to see you
let me
all
be
and hear
quiet.
Baba Joe's laugh. I first met Yasuhiko, gosh, I think it was 1999. And I was working with this energy woman helping me with some physical ailments, and I had all these questions for her. And one day she said, I found someone for you. I found someone who has some of these answers. And I love this woman. She's one of my mentors. And she was taking the Walter Russell, 9-month Walter Russell course in cosmic consciousness class. So just because I trusted her completely, I said, I'm doing it. So I went and for, I think it was one Saturday a month, went through the whole entire course of cosmic consciousness. And I didn't, of course, know anything. But I wasn't afraid to speak up. So I would sit in the front row and raise my hand and disagree with Yasuhiko a lot. And he was so great because he was just so, he so welcomed my my questions. And so that was just the very beginning of my starting to know Yasuhiko, but he really opened my world and my mind. And that was the beginning, was studying Walter Russell with him. And from there I did passion workshop and different lectures and then went all through ATCE and other courses with him. So Yasuhiko really it's actually hard for me to speak about him in the past tense, which I still don't really. I accept the reality that he's not in his body, but I still feel like he's completely here. I talk to him too, Mira. He's like a father to me, truly, truly a spiritual father to me. Um, and was with me, you know, as a friend and a mentor through all the biggest moments of my life up until now. And I'm sure he will continue to be, as I will continue to be with him. Um, and so that's like one of the things I have a hard time about talking about Yasuhiko is I just feel like um, nothing that I say is enough. So I've found that I actually haven't really spoken about him, the loss, except with Mira and Joey and Takeshi when we saw each other at the memorial. I have a very hard time talking about what he gave me and what I learned from him because it is so vast. And it has truly informed my entire life. My whole bookshelf right here has all these books that most of them or many of them are books that he suggested or insisted I read or so I think in time I'll find ways and maybe I'll probably write something that I'll be able to give more of a complete honoring of everything that he's given me. But I will tell you that fundamentally, Yasuhiko taught me to take 100% responsibility for my life. 100%. And to think for myself, to think authentically, and to deconstruct ego, and to actually even understand, hi Takeshi, what thinking actually means, and giving examples of that. Um, and I remember when we studied with him, I believe it was ATC, he said, the first thing I'm going to ask you all to do is, he said, you only have to do one thing. You have to be willing to sacrifice your suffering. And I had no idea really what that meant at that time. But now I see there's, the suffering is the I and the ego and being willing, you have to be willing to get rid of all of that and actually see it for what it is. So, yeah, I'm again really unable to feel like I'm expressing myself in any sort of an eloquent way when it comes to him, but I love him. I'm eternally grateful to him. Every day, I always some thought or some practice or some example comes to mind where I remember, oh, well, Yasuhiko said, okay, well, Yasuhiko, those who know they don't know, or whatever it is that I, remember him saying, and all the wonderful lessons that I learned from him. So I miss him. It makes me really, really, really sad to know that I won't see him in body in this life anymore. It's really doesn't feel uh it doesn't feel right to me. I guess that's just grief and that's how it is. Um, but when I do kind of feel into him, I feel this absolute radiance. And I told Mira that I had a dream probably about 3 weeks ago where he was coming over and I was telling my husband, I said, oh, he's ill. We have to really get like, the place in order and make him comfortable. And I want him to be comfortable and he's frail and all these things. So we were running around getting prepared. And then in the dream, and then he just walked in and he was like, ta-da, and he was totally healthy and he was vibrant. And he was had all these, the laughing and wonderful things to say and thoughts and challenging me. And so he was just, in all of his radiance and brilliance. So that's how I will always remember him. And
Okay.
there's
Thank
more I
you.
can say, but I'm kind of rambling. So I will pass it to Joey.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you, Krista. And folks, what's going to happen is that we're going to be able to say only so much.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
no, but no, 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 no,
Cut
no,
me off.
no, 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 no. I mean exactly opposite. I mean exactly opposite of that. I mean, please take your time to speak, okay? Because this is very special. What we're what we are sharing with each other is Yasuhiko, and there is no time limit. Please take your time to speak. And then once everybody has spoken, you know, many things will come to your mind. So you're welcome to come back, once everybody has spoken, to kind of come back and say some more, okay? Because there is really no limit to how much we can focus on Yasuhiko. He will just keep giving. So please feel free to do that. We'll go with Joey. I know Ambika needs to leave, so after Joey will go to Ambika. If anybody else needs to leave, just send me a private message because I want to make sure that everybody gets to talk. Okay, so Joey, you're next.
Yeah, I can wait for Ambika if you like.
No, that's fine. If you'll go with, I know what time she needs to leave.
Okay,
So,
that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine. So anyway, good evening, everyone. I am Joey Rains. I want to start off by saying is I do not feel sad at all. I'm just giddy. I'm just so happy, and I can't explain it. I am just celebrating, not celebrating. I don't know what I am. I'm just happy talking about him and being here with all of you to share what Yasuhiko, in my case right now, what he has, the impact he's had on my life. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be sharing. I made some notes because sometimes I forget things, and these are things that just pop up and stand out for me and make me laugh, even though sometimes it wasn't so comfortable when it was going on. But right now, I can look back and laugh and smile, and be eternally grateful for everything he has made possible for me. Not what he's done for me, what he has made possible for me. Yeah. Um, I met him, I think it was like end of 2000, the year 2000. Got an email. He was running the Walter Russell Foundation. I don't know how that all happened, but he invited me to a workshop, and I said, "Who is this?" Nah. And then a week later, I said, let me just go. So anyway, that was way back then. Um, yeah, so Hiko's capacity of creating a space that to me, a space, an inviting space to come in and see, see the possibility, ask your questions, inquire, just come and join me. And I did. And that was one of the better decisions that I've made in my entire life, because that's that yes really has transformed the way I am from the way I've been, not better or worse, just better when I need to be and bad when I need to be. But I've learned, I really learned how to think and be with something and not. Okay, so enough of that. What I want to say is, when I was with Yasuhiko and in the thinking process, I remember saying, I'm really, well, I didn't say it, but damn, I'm smart. I would get these insights and these things coming out of the blue just because I was in a space open to receive. And in one of my notes here, I find it difficult to repeat a lot of the things that I have learned from Yasuhiko. Yeah, I don't have that, that academic kind of thing. But one thing I know for sure, whenever I'm in the presence of any deep conversation, anything of import, I can just be still and I can get it all. And it just comes, it just happens because I can put myself in a space to allow this to show up. Um, to me, that's quite amazing. It's like everything I've learned through Yasuhiko, my capacity is learning through feeling. Yeah. And I can really feel and get, most of what he talked about. Some things I still don't get, like Grugiev. Grugiev, he's still like, oh, I'm still like thrashing him about. But Yeah. So anyway, you guys get it. So I made a little list here and I'm going to go over it. I did this like 10 minutes before the call. I said, oh, I got to say something. Let me just write something down. So first thing I remember the most was being in the hot seat. Yasuhiko always invited you, in all our courses that we did, ATCE especially, you were put on the hot seat, just deal with it, deal with your stuff. And I wrote down the fire of the hot seat burns less and less the more you sit in the seat. Yeah. So I learned more and more to be able to be with my stuff and realize that I'm not going to explode or stop existing because I'm looking at, you know, the shit of my life, whatever that looks like to be. Another thing that stands out for me that I really got, God does not exist. God is. Man, when that insight came to me, it was like, oh my God, this is so outrageous. How can God not exist? And then from what he was talking about, anyway, so I'm not going to go into the class, but that was one of my most profound insights. Stop and because. My first workshop, the passion workshop, Yasuhiko, I was going through something and he said, Joey, stop because. And I said, because of what? He said, Joey, stop because. And then he came by me and said, Joey, stop because. I said, oh, yeah, I get it. And to this day, I can stop when I'm caught up in something, I can stop and just because. The problem's still there. But I'm not reacting anymore. I'm just being in cause with what's going on. Let's see. Oh, this is everybody who's known him for years. The more challenging the read, and there was not a book that he has recommended or did in class that, it was a one-day read. No, 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 no. So the more challenging the read, the more my capacity to think increases. Yeah. And that I agreed to be with the material, because sometimes if you don't understand it, you're like, later for this, you push it aside. But because we started to learn how to think, you could be with it and just think, and all of a sudden, all of that just goes, I see. That's another one of Yasuhiko's fortes. Yeah. Um, what is this? The repeating. All right, I'll get that one. The fourfold vision. That whole thing. Yeah. Oh, that was amazing. And now, if you ask me, repeat every single step, I could start saying evolutionary tension and all these things, but I kind of, but I get that and I'm getting better at it. The other thing I want to say is that all of this that he has taught, that he has shown, me from my perception, I'm still Joey. There's still, life still goes on. Shit still happens. I haven't like, oh, let me manifest castles with diamonds, and Shandak, I'm not doing that. But all that's relative. My manifestations, wherever they are equally grand. Yeah. So I'm little by little little by little to my capacity of understanding, right? Because this is where I'm at. I'm sure maybe a couple of years from now, I can just go and it'll all show up. But I'm not quite there yet. Buddhism is so cool. I got into Buddhism with him. I realized I love the flow, the I, I love the flow of the essence of Buddhism. I'm going to leave it at that. Um, I just mentioned Gurdjieff earlier. He's a hard read, but lately I've been starting to get him. I've been surrendering a little more and he starts to show up and I'm starting to get Gurdjieff. So that's good news. Oh, what was this? Oh, Padma Sambhala, another one of our famous reads, you know. He opened up my vision to try and understand. I spent a couple of months in that book. Um, but again, it was the ability to just be with something that seemed, you know, so challenging to comprehend, and to be with it and just allow it to open up. That is so cool. You know, that thinking process. Okay. Walter Russell was my light's delight. So I got into Walter Russell and The Secret of Light and all his teachings. He just lit me up. A little too techie for me. I think Francois might get him a little more than I would. But still I'm getting it, and I understand him. Let's see. Oh, his mentor, Herbert Gunther. Yeah, he shared a lot of his works. And I wanted to acknowledge that. Kindly Ben Suizas, that series really impressed me, did something for me, and I cherish that. Let's see. Ah, I I want to leave that for last. I'm almost okay. Nilesh is here. I have written this down. This is all possible because of him bringing all these wonderful minds together. The impression that Nilesh's presentation of the Bhagavad Gita really opened my eyes, really shifted. You know, I had the Bhagavad Gita there, you know, and I kind of read halfway. I never read the whole thing. This is one of those things you read a chapter, you know, stuff. But after Nilesh's presentation, I went in there, man, and I read that thing twice. And it was just so enjoyable, so fulfilling, you know, to be able to really see that is actually a conversation between, you know, God and the subject, you know, instead of being tugged down to like other things, really made an impression on me. Nilesh, I know you're there. Thank you very much for that. Um, so Costa Rica, I don't know. We went to Costa Rica, a whole group of us, all mostly from ATCE, a lot of us, and we experienced, you know, we journeyed with the medicine, and 3 days, and you know, and to be with Yasuhiko in there, you know, it takes a lot of courage to go in. Well, that's what it is. Yeah. But it was a pleasure to see Yasuhiko start off like most of us, when you go in that kind of depth and start experiencing that, you know, it's like, oh shit, what's going on? You know? And anyway, what I want to say about that, he went through hell. I don't know personally because that was all in his head, yeah, but he went to hell the first two sittings, and then the third time, because we sat for three times. And I think he got the hang of it, because the third time when we went, you know, they asked you midway through the ceremony if you want some more. And midway through the ceremony, the third night, Yasuhiko was the first one up. I want more. You had to be there, obviously. But we were all like worried, you know, the first couple of nights. He was going through his thoughts, you know, like a lot of us were. But, you know, so I bring that up because it shows, you know, the willingness to go and dive deep into the darkest of the dark. You know, if that's where you're going, if that's where you want to be, and look at death in the eye, and then come out of it and say, oh, okay, I get it. Let's do that again. I got the hang of this. So I wanted to mention that. Um, Stop being a victim. Boy, did that sink in. You know, he said that frequently. Stop being a victim. So I wanted to mention that. When the student is ready, the teacher will show up. So I guess I was ready, like a whole lot of us here. You know, the right person shows up at the right time, and he was definitely the teacher that I needed. And and that showed up for me. Yeah. Um, and I think I want to lastly, I want to say, and I really mean this, the I really want to extend my gratitude, my acknowledgement and recognition to all the students that got together in all these years, all you beautiful beings that I have met, and we have shared, and we have cried, and we have faced our fears, and we have laughed, and we had great meals. It was such an amazing journey, and to be in your presences, yeah, um, and being vulnerable together and intimate together, and just seeing each other's lights as our own, and no judgment, just being there. That is such a gift that all of you have given me. And without Yasuhiko, that would not have happened. So for that, I am eternally grateful. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, man, because so that is Yasuhiko for me. Yeah, this is what he has done for me. And doing it for me has made it possible for me to be with all of you here and just be in. Yeah. So
Thank
my
you.
beautiful Yasuhiko, thank you, and all of you. I'm so happy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was quintessential joy. That just beautiful. Thank you so much. Um, Next, we're going to go with Ambika and then Keenan. Again, anybody, if anybody wants to leave, just send me a private message. We want to hear from everybody. Okay. Ambika, you're next.
I don't know exactly where to begin, other than perhaps when we met. I'm actually so deeply moved by all your words and expressions that I wonder why I didn't attend all the workshops, because I couldn't. So I hope that we can all get together from time to time and play again. I met Yasuhiko in 2021 in Los Angeles. He had organized what was then called a conference on the cosmic education for a cosmic age. And I went there, and for a little while it was a little overwhelming, but then it all fell into place, and it was really quite remarkable. And I said, I need to stick with this man for as long as I can learn from him. And that began the journey. And at that time, my parents were visiting, and I cooked a meal, and he came over with his then wife. And we had a great time. It was so nice for my parents to meet him and him to meet my parents. And, and so the journey started. And then in October 2006, the other conference was 2001, and then the conference was in 2006. I'd been in a car incident, and the conference started, I think, 3rd October, and Krista drove me there. And that was just a beautiful experience of deepening and uncovering. I won't remember details at this moment, but I just knew this wasn't the last time. And of course, there were some sessions we missed, so I went to the New York session and met Mira there. And then all our friendship began, and also Joey in the New York group. And then there was a long gap, but every time I would read anything Yasuhiko posted on Facebook, I would copy and paste, and there's a whole folder of his copying and paste. And also, he had posted a list of quotations he had written. I don't know which folder those are in right now because computers have changed, but everything he wrote was so worthy that I had to keep it. It was like a treasure chest of memories that he shared. And then, of course, I followed his discussions with other people. It was really exciting to see when people kept opposing him and what they said made no sense. And I'm like, why don't you get what he's trying to tell you over and over again? You know, he's layering things, get it. But, you know, it's all such an interesting dance and drama. And he gets to the kernel and he cracks the kernel open, and what is inside the kernel is just space. And that's where he wishes, I mean, he wished us to be, and where it is perhaps what we've been seeking, that space that is here. So it's just a journey, one after the other. And then we get caught up in all of these squiggles and tensions and, you know, the suffering and how to get out of it. This journey is not over. It cannot be over. It is, I think, woven in our skin, in our DNA and awareness. And that is how it will unfold, like the ball of, you know, the thread that has to keep unwinding. And then, of course, the poetry. It was such a gift to share poems with him and to receive his words and his appreciation. And so beautiful that he shared with us his love for Blake. And then the poem he wrote about, you know, the whole experience of freedom, which was absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's so many nuggets. Excuse me. After ATSI in LA, I did the passion workshop with him. And at some point, I burst out laughing, and he laughed with me. I don't remember exactly what was said, but he said, okay, we got the cosmic joke. Yes, we got the cosmic joke. And and that was just beautiful. You know, when that moment when the bubble burst, and it's not bubble, but one big thing like this, which is just like this. So I know you get what I mean by like this because it's in you. So it was just fantastic. And I just love hearing, Mira, about your experience. And it's just beyond magical, miraculous, magnificent. So thank you for sharing. And if it's okay, I would like to read a short passage by him, which I think it encompasses his work and how personal it is, while it is also cosmic. And I had saved this a while ago and found it again just the other day. So, in his words, when you realize your own cosmic singularity and singular genius, you become self-generatively evolutionary. As you become self-generatively evolutionary, you become able not only to see your developmental potentials, but also to envisage humanity's individual and collective evolutionary possibilities. Now you see what you can be, and thereby you create an evolutionary gap between what and where you are, and what and where you can be. Then you become the creator of your own practice to reverse engineer what you can be to what you will be through the actions and behaviors prescribed by the practice. This is what it means to be a self-made soul. And in the making of your own soul, you self-realize what it means to be human in its full cosmic grandeur. I think these words really speak to how he lived and how the core of his teachings and how he stayed until the very last moment because he wanted it to be the way he had seen it and wished it. And so he experienced, as he wrote, Christ and Buddha. And he was there. And here we were all wanting him to come through it. And he stuck to his way. And this, I think, is that kernel of truth. And it's like my whole body is in tremors of love, joy, gratitude, and also sorrow, because I think it was so soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
thank you for doing this. And I hope that we can all gather, as we had spoken about in the last 2 years, 3 years, to meet up. So thank you. And
Thank
lots of love to each one of you.
Thank you, Ambika.
Thanks.
Next up is going to be Kenan, followed by Nilesh. Folks, whenever you're ready to speak, you can type an exclamation mark in Zoom or briefly raise your hand in Zoom. So I will call on you whenever you're ready. Okay, Kenan, go ahead.
Hello, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Well, first of all, I am so grateful for this event. My intention was to just tune in with the spirit of Yasuhiko and just hearing all of you. I'm learning so much. In a way, I was refreshing my contact with him. I met him in 2014 or 15 at perhaps a passion workshop at a home in Southern California. And I just felt like mentioning that I had a series of dreams. I had not embarked on the spiritual path, so to speak, in a conscious manner at that time. But I had these very uncanny dreams that now seem, obvious that they were from a very deep part of the subconscious. And then for whatever reason, I was wondering. I never actually jumped on the ACTE courses. It did not happen. But I kept returning to some of his videos over the years. My next contact with him was a decade later, where I did a podcast with him and exchanged some beautiful things. But in between, I kept returning to a few clips of his video. Shrikant has done a lot since then, but this was till that content wasn't there. And um, it was all about what I was attracted to, a few videos about evolution of consciousness and evolution of human. And it stayed with me like a splinter in my mind. And it just occurred to me right now that in my studies since I met him, I began to study Kashmir Shaivism, which probably many of you are familiar, and came in contact with John Gebser and Sri Aurobindo's teaching. And I just had a flash a few moments ago that, Yasuhiko probably planted a seed there, because I kept returning to a few of those short videos time and again, where there was something there uh, that my soul was resonating with. And not every community speaks about that. So I just want to honor and acknowledge his spirit to this independence of thinking and independence of the spiritual journey, originality, authenticity, which I feel that even though I did not meet him so many times, that is the contact I repeatedly had with him. And then I was blessed to have a podcast with him, perhaps a couple of years ago. And that was a wonderful catching up and reconnecting those threads, and just a pat on my shoulder that I was on the right path, because I just appreciated him as a kindred spirit at this point. And then maybe I conclude with, I've been following his writings, of course, and especially his writings in his before leaving this plane. I felt deeply resonated with them, because I've had a longstanding contact with chronic illness. And I like to return to them again, because I think there is something really profound about the continuation of our evolution and journey after we leave this plane. And the last thing, just sharing of a dream. maybe right before the New Year's, I had a dream with Yasuhiko, so it was very meaningful. I only remembered parts of it, but it was super mythical, not surprisingly. And he was giving a lecture on the Titans and the Sirens. It's not something that I think of at all, the Greek philosophy, but I woke up and I took notes and tried to really contemplate what it meant. And he was telling me, or telling us who were in the people in the classroom, about the good things about the siren. And I didn't know what exactly he said, but it was counterintuitive because sirens are normally seduction and taking you off the path, is maybe my limited understanding. I haven't studied that. But it dawned upon me that what he was indicating was the muse, that they act as the muse, and there is value in their summoning us into regions uncharted, you know. So I just wanted to share that as a bow. I was like, thank you, because I find myself once again in this phase, recreating a new journey again, and so connecting with the spirit is very meaningful. So I thank you all, and look forward to staying in touch with this being, which is always accessible here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keenan. Thank you. Next up is going to be Nilesh and then Belinda. Nilesh, go ahead. And folks, please take your time. This is just very precious.
Hi, namaste everyone. Hello. I've met some of us are meeting for the second time or the third time, and some of you I know quite well. Thank you, Srikant, again for hosting this very important event. I met YGK, as I used to call him, on Facebook, of all places, around the year 2011 or 12. And at that time, I didn't know Mira. And this happened in a private group of people discussing philosophy. What else? And specifically Ken Wilber's philosophy. And a few people there, including Yasuhiko and myself, were wanting to go beyond the limitations of Ken Wilber's AQUAL and IMP framework. What impressed me firstly was the fact that someone wanted to go beyond the AQUAL framework in a group where everybody were idol worshipping Ken Wilber. And the second thing that struck me was his clear and direct attack on the hypocrisy of the postmodern relativism in particular, and the soul-cramping credo of collectivism in general. I bonded with him immediately because that was my line of thinking at that point in time. For a few years, the philosophical to and fro continued until in 2015, some discussions on his Facebook wall and mine ended up getting each other closer in discovering our worldview alignment and the first sprouts of a friendship, close, personal, intimate friendship, based on which he invited me to a conference in Berlin in October, which I readily accepted in a week's notice. And that's where I met him and Mira and a few others. And that Berlin trip, October 2015, actually brought us together as philosophical soulmates with a common discovered vision for humanity. We got working together for subsequent conferences, two of which were in Berlin, one was in Buenos Aires, and also for collaborating on a writing project on our common vision for humanity, which we completed towards the end of 2018, which he used to like to call it the Omnicentric Manifesto. In course of that writing work with him, I saw the man in his entirety. And he brought himself to bear in the body of that work. And I realized I have never met a human being like him before. For this writing project, he invited me to his home, his beautiful home, and I visited Yasuhiko and Mira at their lovely Charlottesville place and enjoyed their warm hospitality. In 2016, we became family friends and had plans to meet up for exotic holidays together. But COVID intervened and that was not to be. Even though we had had some differences in our subsequent life orientation and movements on the spiritual path, Yasuhiko remains the one person with whom I have had the greatest number of intersections in terms of interests, viewpoints, inclinations, intentions, resonances, and I would say even a soul calling. I'm not sure who else can come close to filling that gap. With your permission, if I can get sharing rights on Zoom, I'd like to share a picture or two of us together.
Yes, give me just a second. Go ahead.
This is us before dinner at a place in Argentina, Buenos Aires, during the BFF conference in 2019. I remember a long night of animated discussions, again about the common vision. And another one, Mira sent both of us to Whole Foods in Charlottesville to do some shopping for some tremendously eloquent and grand dinner that she was serving up that night. And here, both of us in a shop with dark glasses looking like hoodlums. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nilesh. Thank you. Next up is Belinda, followed by Francois. Belinda.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. So I met Yasuhiko on Facebook, and part of what blew my mind about him is the way that he would rip people apart when he knew that they were just egos in some philosophical discussion. And I used to crack up all the time. I was like, I can't believe he said that. And I would read these to my husband, and we would have a great morning listening and watching what he would say. I don't know exactly how we got together, but I started participating in the Zoom courses. And before I knew it, we started doing emailings because we had found out we were both with Osho, Rajneesh in India in the late 70s. So that was like the real beginning of, wow, that's amazing. And then we were both Sagittarians and both fours, I think, on the Enneagram. So we shared a great deal about love of knowledge and love of truth and love of beauty. Beauty has been, beauty and truth have been my driving passions throughout life. And so when I met Yashu, that's how I refer to him. I don't know if it's a sin or not, but Yashu. He just enabled my ability to understand
the genius that we each hold inside of us, and that we each have our own pathway, our own way to get there. And it's like part of our eternal essence. And I knew this in my heart. So he helped me to concretize some of my deepest beliefs. He never really was able to address my understanding of what is evil, but I did come to understand that in a way that sits in my heart when I read Paul Levy's book in Wetiko, when he talked about the Kelsey pot from the Kabbalah in their mythos of evil, the purpose of evil. So that really helped me to forgive Yasuhiko for not helping me understand evil, because I really wanted to understand it. And I feel like I really do now, in the sense that evil and good, whatever, have to work together. And even though we're in this time of great travail and inversion in this matrix, it's all part of this necessary evolutionary thing we're going through. Um, non-puerile, non-puerile, and sui generis would be two of the words that I would use to describe Yasuhiko. I've never really had anybody that I could describe that way before, but it makes me think of Jean Klein, the non-dual teacher. I think he was one of Rupert Spear's teachers. Yeah. And Jean Klein said something that I thought was egotistical. He actually said, a comet doesn't follow a comet, when he was referring to himself and his teachings and understandings. But Yashahiko was his own fucking planet, his own planet. And that's what we're all meant to be, is our own planet. Um, I'm a recluse. I find very few people that I'm interested in being with anymore. I taught yoga for 15 years and had a holistic lifestyle service in Laguna Beach when I was in my 20s. So I've done a lot of being with people, but I live in the mountains, I live in the forest, I live with the ravens, I live with the redwoods, I live with the forests, and I live with two beloved dogs, and a husband that is my soulmate. So I understand, Mira, that when two are really one being. So I'm not interested in people, but Yashu is a component in my life that will never leave. And just like you said, Krista, I really do think of him every day. And he turned me on to some great books. We used to share a lot about books because we both love to read. And he told me, Belinda, you can never read all the books you want to read in life. So, don't get lost in that journey. But Christopher Alexander, the architect, the European architect that's passed, I got his 4-volume cloth set. And the fourth volume was really the most spiritual. That blew my mind. We got to build our own house, so we used some of his ideas. And he would take the most practical, living earth kind of information and make it spiritual. So Christopher Alexander made my heart sing, and that really stuck with me, that Yashu turned me on to that. When I first met Yashu, I had kind of grown up on Seth, the works of Seth, the teachings of Seth. And so I sent him a red cloth book of Seth, one of the originals. I think it was Seth Speaks or something. I don't think he really received Seth that well. I think Mira actually related more to Seth than Yasuhiko. But because he never really could say that much about it. But what he sent me in return was a Walter Russell blue bound book, and he said it was his last one. And so I opened that book and I kept it by my bedside because I could not read Walter Russell, you know. I just loved looking at it. But mathematics, Francois, I just haven't really been able to embrace it except through sacred geometry and mandalas. So he turned me on to that. And I love this might sound kind of plebeian or mundane, but he really helped me understand polarity with the power of three, how, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, the pyramid, the basic, how we go through this and to understand the duality of life, the polarity. So that has really stuck with me, as well as what you said, Krista, about, was it Krista that said it? Sacrifice your suffering. That really sticks out a lot as far as when we go into victimhood. But I would say one of the main things is that I believe that we each carry our own myth. And he helped me to understand that we each have this genius in us. And it helped me to understand more my path of beauty. So I think the last thing that I would say is, oh, Beelzebub, the Tales of Beelzebub, that drove me crazy, absolutely crazy. It was the worst thing I've ever tried to read in my life. And he said, you know, what's wrong with you if you can't read it? This is one of the best books. So I had to let that be. Um, as far as his process at the end of his life, that put me through a lot of my own facing death and facing suffering. I felt it was like almost too intimate for me to imagine from the little that Mira had told us what he was going through. And I was very much in my head about, is he going to live? Is he going to leave his body? And to trust his process for going through the way his long drawn out process went. It was a little too intimate. And I felt like I couldn't let go of it. And it's like I was always thinking about him and sending him energy and trying to understand, you know, is this turning for, you know, leaving the body here, and why would he be doing this now? And I think that it's not my business, but I think that I came to a place of trusting his genius in knowing when to leave and if he was going to leave or stay. And actually, the courage of trusting Mira for a whole new life chapter that she would have to face and deal with. And from speaking to her last week on Zoom, it sounds like she has some really beautiful projects ahead of her. So it helped me trust that dying process. I was chasing my dog a month and a half ago at twilight, and I fell and I couldn't get up. And I called my husband, John, and he was just coming out at the time to ask me if I wanted some shepherd's pie for dinner. And I said, I can't get up. It turned out I had broken my hip and I didn't realize it. So I stayed home for 4 days, dragging my leg around. And finally, people said, you've got to go to the emergency room. So I went and spent the night there, and the next morning they operated. And so now I can actually walk again. And I've come through that. But man, after going through what Yashu went through and then being in that hospital for 4 nights, it was the deepest underworld shamanic passage that I had ever gone through. And I really felt like I was being forsaken, like, oh my God, I'm bereft. And how do we deal with this terrible uncomfortableness and fear? And anyway, so somehow his process and my process were connected. I guess what I'm trying to say. So I hope I expressed just a little bit of a kernel. And I loved hearing what you said, Mira, about your shared journey together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Belinda. Thank you. I mean, each person is just adding so much. So thank you so much. Next up is Francois.
Well, I hope you can all hear me properly. I'm in Costa Rica, in fact, in the jungle, in a tree. So I hear all the monkeys and everything. So I hope you can hear me properly. Well, I'm so grateful for what Yasuhiko brought to my life. Full transformative journey that I met him in 2021 for the Tao Te Ching course, and it was really, like, I remember moments from that course like I was in pure bliss, just listening to Yasuhiko's words. And I'm so grateful, like, for how he basically opened my mind, coming from a narrow domain of mathematics, like, and opening my mind to a whole spiritual world and philosophy. And so I'm so grateful that, like, I have so much great memories. Like, one of them I can share is I was going to get art surgery, and basically he wrote to me some indications, like how I should be prepared for that, and how I should be prepared to face death even. With his words, he was telling me, basically, you need to go in. I don't remember the exact words, but it was the absolute affirmation of everything, basically. So you need to go on this operation table and think about your life and say yes to everything that happened, yes to every failures you had, yes to your success, like, and get that affirmation, and say yes to everything that happened to you, basically. And it was with his words that I went to sleep and died for 12 hours or so, like, on that operation table. And I was in just pure peace. Like, when I was in peace, like, if I wouldn't come back, it was okay. Like, I was ready for whatever. Like, so yes, I think it's like his words and all his thinking, how everything he gave me basically will continue to influence my thinking forever. Like, so he's really alive with me all the time. Like, and when I'm facing any difficulty or problems, and I will always think about his words and his teachings. This was priceless for me, and really great moments that I will never forget about. So thank you all for being here. It's very nice to hear you all talk about him and your experience with him, and remembering what he gave us is really priceless. Like, so thank you all for being here.
Sorry
You're
about,
muted.
sorry about that. So thank you, Francois, and thank you for bringing the forest into our, into this conversation. Just beautiful. Thank you. Um, next, let's see. Next is Christina, followed by Takeshi, and then Craig. If any of you need to leave for any reason, just send me a private message. But otherwise, we'll just go in the order in which people have volunteered to speak. Christina, go ahead.
It's so
amazing this opportunity to be with you all. And I'm so grateful, Mira, for being here and just feeling this emotion and the certainty that Yasuhiko is, not was, but is the one who teaches us to be fully alive. So that's how I feel him now, fully alive. And I met him in a time in my life when, after being involved with so many studies and, the seeker and the one who is never full enough of apprenticeship, but so exhausted. I was, before I met him, I was saying myself, Sinara, that's it, that's enough. Please stop this seeking because you go anywhere. Then I was in a big, huge congress in São Paulo because I'm Brazilian. So, and I was there with this certainty, with this, compromise inside. But when I opened the program and my eye went straight to a lecture, Yasuhiko lectures, which was the consciousness in business. At that time, I was, leading my own company in a burnout process. But I felt, wow, I cannot miss this. I must hear this guy about consciousness. And the very thing I heard from that Japanese honored teacher was, I'm here to teach you how to think. I was, wow. Or this guy is very pretentious. Oh, this is amazing. So I must hear more about him or his ideas. By the end of his lecture, I was convinced that I was thirsty for his teachings. And 1 week later, I live far away from São Paulo. 1 week later, I went back to São Paulo, traveled a lot to be there for his passion workshop. And at that very moment, I met Mira also. And I had the first workshop with Yasuhiko. And from that time, I could not stop learning from him. Then I engaged on ATCE and his books and everything he brought was always like a gift for my soul. And he was the guy who helped me to organize inside myself, inside my consciousness and my, soul, I can say. A vision of myself and cosmic order and harmony and the very sense of the significance of being alive and our freedom journey, our authentic journey. So I could not be the same person after that. And it was interesting because during the last year on ATCE, I had to go through a surgery. And it was the most amazing experience uh, experience I got, which was an ATM, like a death experience. And coming back, I was just immersed on his books. And months later, I had another experience with the infinite force or infinite presence or God, or I I don't know. I don't like to limit this with language, but was just uh, impossible to translate what that experience was to me. And I just felt I got so much from all this journey with Yatsuhiko, with ATC, with this, the experience and experiences that this whole process had brought me, that I felt I have so much to digest, to assimilate, to so much grace, so much gift, so much everything that I had to just take a break. And when I told him I could not keep going on the next level because I had to process everything that I already had received, it was such ambiguous feeling because a part of me was crying, a part of me was profoundly gratefully. Sorry for my English, but afterwards, I mean, during this process, I make a turning shift in my life. It's such a great in all senses. And was also deal with some healthy questions, challenges, starting a new business, discovering how to be myself in this new level, let's say, of consciousness. I was seeking for more space to be living in harmony or aligned with everything that I had received. It was not easy at all. But I was very honored that during pandemic time, with some friends, we could provide a congress, international congress, with no money, with nothing, with no resources. And Yasuhiko was the first one who, came and helped us. And also, he was so generous. Actually, I think he was the most intellectual, the guy, most intellectually generous that I had ever met. And I just have no words to resume what he means in my life, what he brought, what he taught me. And I really feel him fully alive as he always be. And I feel so grateful for everything, for every word you all brought here. And I just want to say that when I knew he was sick and going through this process, the very first feeling which came to me was, wow, thanks God, he has Mira. because she will know how take care of him, because the love, well, I had the gift to be hosted by them when we were in a seminar in New York, and I could see, the the depth of love. So the very first thing I felt was this: wow, Mira is there. Everything will be all right, because everything already is all right. So I just want to thank you all. And Mira, thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonara. Thank you. Next up is going to be Takeshi, followed by Craig. Takeshi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Hi. Okay. So Yasuhiko, to me, is of course he is one of the most intelligent, informative, most smartest person I have ever met in my life. But besides that, what makes him so different, so special for me, was that he seems to have a clue. He seems to know the secret of this human life, of this existence. Yeah, I've never met a guy. I've never met a single person like him. I mean, oh, hold, something's wrong with this. Okay. So I was so curious about him. I wanted to know what made him who he is, and I wanted to know the secrets that he holds. I don't think I found it out before he died. I don't think I have made sure. I don't think I have ever able to make sure or verify what he said. Like even one thing. But I have no doubts that he was speaking from somewhere else, because his words is not coming from him. Yeah. So if I describe this secret that I thought he had, it would be something like, okay, he very often talked about divinity, yeah, the concept of divinity. There is this divinity on the base of every existence. So in his word, he said something like, there is good beyond good and evil. Yeah. So we see goodness and evil in this world, but everything is actually covered by the goodness, covered by the divinity. That's how I interpreted his words. I don't know if this is true, but if this is true, it's a very, very precious, big liberation for us. Yeah. So I was able to spend several days before he died at the hospital. I was able to film, recorded some of his messages, which I may be able to share with you later under the permission of Mira. But here today, I want to share three things that I noticed. He repeatedly mentioned at his deathbed. One of them is that he wants people to read the book by Julian Jaynes, The Breakdown, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of Bicameral Mind. He mentioned this book repeatedly. He said that this book holds a key to win the system and to liberate humanity. The system, I don't know what he meant by system. He repeatedly used the term psycho-philosophical system. He said he has been fighting with psycho-philosophical system all his life. Yeah. Anyways, so that's number one. He said that read Julian Jaynes' book. He says this book is more valuable and than you may think. And it has the value that Julian Jaynes himself did not know. So there must be something in this book. The second is that okay, hold on, let me see. Okay, so the biggest mistake that humanity made is to seek God outside. That's what he said. He said that the God is within. And if you actually see the God in you, within you, and if you talk about it, and if somebody hears it in language, those people will take it as something outside. You know, it comes from outside, so the God must be outside. So that's a paradox of the language, yes. But he said this clearly. I think he said many times, the biggest mistake human being made is to seek God outside. Yeah, we have to seek inside. The last one I wanted to share is that he said he fulfilled his individual purpose in this world. He said he succeeded in the end as a philosopher. He found it. He said that he gained critical insight to win the system. So he was content, I think, as a philosopher when he died. I want everyone to know that. He didn't show any sign of pain. I am sure he was in pain, but he did not seem to be in pain at all. When he died, he seemed very, very happy. His face was almost like a child. He was very calm, very peaceful. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Shrikant, for organizing this.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Takeshi. I mean, I cannot thank you enough for communicating this, because Yasuhiko is a very thoughtful man. And he chose these three things. He chose these three things. And
well, he said many things. I
yeah.
chose those three.
Yes, but
yeah.
The thing is that I know. But there is something special about the things that you have chosen, I think. I cannot fully grasp it yet, but there is something special. He's so thank you so much. Next up is Craig, followed by Tom. Craig. Craig, you're on mute. Let's see.
Okay, sorry about that. Wow, that was nice to hear everybody share their words. You know, it makes me think of I think it was 2016 in during the Singular We symposium that I took part in. I remember, excuse me, at one point Yasuhiko, he brought up two Japanese characters, and I think in Japanese it's kando, and he started to explain the two characters. And at the time, I'd been living in China for, I guess it was over a decade already, and he explained the meaning of the first character was gan, well, in Chinese gan, and in the second character is dong, and it was kando in Japanese. And at first, I hadn't made the connection that the characters were the same, and until he started going into the meaning of the first character, which means emotion, and the second character means a movement. And it just in that moment, it was like, Gandong, he's saying kando, and I'm saying gandong, and it was the literal meaning of this word, these two characters together in action. And you know, hearing everybody talk, it is an emotional movement within me, and obviously with everyone else. And so I feel like this, you know, I've had from the day that I had heard Yasuhiko had passed, I was actually in El Salvador for an event, and one of the speakers who had actually gone, it was for the Bitcoin Historico that the El Salvadorian government had organized. And one of the speakers who had actually gone down there to listen to, specifically in his talk, he and this is the day that Yasuhiko has passed, and his talk was on the infinite game and how Bitcoin is part of the infinite game. And obviously that's like a topic that Yasuhiko had brought to me in 2016 at the symposium, the Singular We Symposium. And I knew in that moment that Yasuhiko is still with me. The timing of that, it was just so serendipitous and so much synchronicity. It was like a reminder that Yasuhiko is still present. And in fact, I just went and dropped off one of my client dogs because I have a small business where I take care of dogs. And when I left, I dropped the dog off and I turned back and I said, "Goodbye, Yasuhiko. I'll see you soon." And I'll just realize that that's actually not Yasuhiko, but that's exactly how I feel. I feel like I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. Yasuhiko and I met too as well on Facebook originally, and I was in the process of deconstructing, well, organized religion, but I was also deconstructing politics and arriving at, I would say, both a spiritual and a view on politics and economics that when I found Yasuhiko, it just his work just dovetailed with so much that I was arriving at on my own. And it was just incredible to find that somebody has already thought this out. Like I knew that I hadn't gotten there first and I couldn't be the only one, but to find his body of work, and especially around the omnicentric society that he wanted to bring about and still wants to bring about, and will be probably the father of a lot of these ideas as this world that he envisioned emerges. And maybe that's hundreds of years from now. Maybe it's not within our lifetime, as it wasn't in Yasuhiko's lifetime. But that pursuit, that continued pursuit of that vision, it's just we are the torchbearers now for Yasuhiko. And I think that decentralized, not just in the economic and political sense, that synergistic spiritual center that each of us in our individual genius can be and will be in the future. Yasuhiko is at the core of bringing those ideas forward, and he's forever in my I honor him forever, because so much of my current thinking and so much of breaking outside of the paradigms that we have been so accustomed to, I owe to Yasuhiko so much. Like, it's just, I wouldn't be where I am right now. Like, I can say that categorically, that, Yasuhiko's influence in my own personal journey has been just, it's unquantifiable. And I really do hope to be able to continue to interact with those who are continuing to carry that torch. I have been processing a lot over the last few months, and I know it's going to be a while yet before it's fully processed. But I do think that Yasuhiko has laid a groundwork for me to eventually write a book myself. That's how I really feel that there's something I have to say. And it was again on the day that I heard he had passed that I essentially decided that I need to put what I need to put my own journey, and in terms of how it dovetails with Yasuhiko's, I need to put it into I need to make it available, even if it's only for my own kids. It's just something that he's inspired me to do. So, anyways, I won't take up too much time here. I'd like to hear everybody else and what they have to say as well. But
Thank you.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg. I mean, it's so beautiful to hear how Yasuhiko has impacted each of us, you know, and each of us in a very unique way. You know, somehow he has been able to speak to each of us almost as if he was just speaking to us, you know, us alone. So just very, very, very beautiful. I'm so grateful for everybody here. Next up is Tom. And folks, we're going to do one more round to see if things come up for you that you want to talk more about. Uh, please, we'll do kind of a much more quicker round to have you know, kind of what 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 comes up as a result of hearing everybody else. Okay, so next up is Tom. Tom, go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much for the invitation. I appreciate this. Um, and I've prepared some notes, things I want to sort of mention. Um, I doubt very much if I could say anything that would fully do justice to the quality of his character. In fact, in many ways, Yasuhiko is still a mystery to me in a couple of ways, I suppose, as he is for many, due to his depth. But I thought I would just go over how I first met him. Um, um, and my experience of Yasuhiko has been really someone, you know, much bigger than me. And I first met him on Facebook in 2015, and this was shortly after I defended my thesis in university. And so I didn't really have much of a direction at the time. And I was sort of on social media, bouncing around between different Facebook groups, which attended to the topics of spirituality and personal growth, because I was interested in that at the time. Um, and I frequently found them quite unsatisfactory in many ways, actually. And you know, everybody who claimed these realizations, they always had a very impressive command of the language. But the sort of spiritual spaciousness, for lack of a better term, always felt like a little bit too much like performance. And I always thought there was a bit too much identification with ideology that I sort of never quite felt right. Um, so I guess at the time I was sort of looking for more intellectual rigor from such communities. Whether I was right in that or wrong in that, I don't know. Um, but there was one person on Facebook who was connected to almost everybody in these groups, but he wasn't really in any of the groups himself, which which is kind of amusing now when I think back on it. That's Yasuhiko. He was connected to everybody, but he wasn't in these groups actually. And years later, he'd tell me that his English teacher in grade 10 gave him a book called The Outsider and told him that he was one. And I suppose I'm sort of drawn to outsiders as well. So I kind of thought it was promising that he knew everybody, but sort of wasn't in all the groups himself. I did a sort of a quick survey of his Facebook page, and it really revealed some really interesting posts, which couldn't possibly be written by accident. And my first impression was, wow, this guy's incredible. And I went through a number of his posts, one after the other. I started reading them, and I realized this guy has incredible depth. This guy's the real deal. And so I followed him on Facebook, and as the months went on, he would post remarkable things, and each post would impress me, you know, greatly. Um, Early on in the process, By the way, I should mention that when I first sort of came across him on Facebook and I sort of took an interest in following him, I knew somebody that was also connected to him on Facebook, and I asked her, who is this guy? What's he all about? And she said to me, well, he's kind of arrogant. And I said, okay, well, that's not how it seems to me. Um, but anyway, I kept following his posts, and I remember I hadn't been following for that long. He wrote something on the Nagasaki bombing, and of course, it was well thought through. And I don't really remember what he said on the subject, but I posted something snippy, and I kind of regret it even when I think about it. It kind of makes me cringe a little bit. It was something to the effect that, China might not agree with you or something. It was pretty cringe. But he didn't respond with arrogance or dismissiveness at all, actually. He posted a really deep and very thoughtful reply, and it was clear that he was extremely well read on the history of the era. He posted without having time to confirm any of the dates. And the impression is, Yasuhiko would never have posted something on Facebook had he not thought it through completely. And that's the way he always seemed to me. So that was me sort of poking the guru at first, I guess. But it was immediately apparent to me that he wasn't like many of the gurus that I'd encountered online. He disapproved of guru worship for one thing quite a bit. He didn't like it at all. And he identified in some of his writings actually that it was something that would hold a person back quite a bit, guru worship. But for another thing, Yasuhiko knew philosophy like very few can possibly know it. And it's just amazing when I think about it. He basically knew it natively, as the original authors had intended and envisioned. He almost saw their own vision, which is incredibly uncommon. He was astonishingly well read. He knew many languages and was familiar with math and science as well. Um, in short, he was the smartest guy I've ever met. Um, and yet, within that unusual intellectual mastery that Yasuhiko demonstrated, there was a kind of second mastery that I could never quite put my finger on. And I'll articulate it sort of crudely, I suppose. He wasn't identified with the intellect as many such people are. He seemed to view it as a tool, and there was a kind of distance. And I thought that, that was the spaciousness that all of the other gurus were trying to copy. But with Yasuhiko, it never felt performative at all. It always felt genuine and authentic. I eventually sent him a friend request, and I was really pleased when he accepted. I never really thought that we would get to know each other much better at the time, but eventually we did actually. And maybe because my own tendency for sort of uninhibited posting. Um, and as I got to know him better, not only was it clear that he wasn't at all arrogant whatsoever, but that he was a deeply kind person who basically had the patience of a saint. I think he's probably one of the kindest people I've ever come across. Like Mira said, very gentle. Uh, I think that's who he was. So from what I observed, he was a really tireless teacher. He he really considered it very important to teach, and he was quite tireless in that respect. Um, in many ways, I think I'd compare him to Mozart, singular and distinct, never wavering from his own vision, an outsider in society, not recognized in his own time, and never allowing the misunderstanding of others to diminish his purpose. I was shocked to learn of his passing, of course, because I thought he was improving. I thought we would do courses again. I guess it's easy to imagine things continuing on as they are, but the world changes quickly, and sometimes we basically have to adjust. I'm really grateful for his attention and his teaching, as I'm sure everybody here is as well. But I thought I would quote him on the subject of generosity because I think he was a truly generous spirit, and his generosity showed up in the way he approached teaching and the way he approached helping other people think through problems and come to an understanding. And this is I think a good reflection of how he lived and how he taught. This is a post from 2015. He posted on Facebook, and it made an impression on me. So he starts by criticizing something. Actually, he says a new age spiritual delusion. Quote, I am a very generous person. In fact, I am too generous. I give too much, but I don't know how to receive. I am not good at receiving. I think I need to learn receiving. I need to learn how to receive. And he's criticizing this mindset. So here's Yasuhiko responding in his own words. If you don't have the experience of receiving, it means that you don't know what true giving is, that you don't authentically give, and that you are not in truth generous. It is takers, not givers, who do not know how to receive and who do not have the experience of receiving. Precisely because they do not have the experience of receiving, they experience a void, a sense of scarcity within, and hence continue to crave to take more. They pretend to give and delude themselves to be generous, but they fail to experience the joy of giving and the reward of receiving. If you want to receive, then give fully, really, authentically. Then you will know the joy of giving and the reward of receiving. You free yourself from the world of scarcity and enter the world of abundance and plenitude. If your generosity is genuine, the joy of giving is ever present, regardless of whether or not people know the receiver knows. Sorry, regardless of whether or not other people know or the receiver knows that it is you who are the giver of a certain gift. For you who are truly generous, anonymity of your giving never diminishes your joy of giving. And I think that really kind of sums up how I experienced him as a teacher.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. That was beautiful. Now I'm going to start calling on people. Rebecca, it would be wonderful if you could share. And then I'm going to call on Mark next. Rebecca, go ahead.
I'm here. I'm sorry that you can't see me. We couldn't figure it out. My experience with Yasuhiko was magical. I'm the new kid on the block. I have only known them for 3 years, but also I met him on Facebook, and he wanted to meet me in person. I'm very isolated here, and we couldn't figure out how to do it. There were all these obstacles. Let's just say there were all these obstacles. And one night I was watching a movie, and the main character was going to an art museum, and I had a vision while I was watching the movie of meeting Yasuhiko in an art gallery. And the next day he messaged me and he said, "Can you meet us at this art gallery? It's only an hour from you." Very magical. So I made it happen. And after that meeting, we started sending email back and forth and getting to know each other. And we became friends very, very fast. And then also Mira, I also became friends with Mira. But I thought what we were doing tonight was that everyone was going to be given like 2 minutes to say the impact that he had on your life. So mine is very short and I wrote it, but I gave it great thought. I really wanted to just, what am I left? How am I different? What is the impact of my relationship with Yasuhiko? So this is what I wrote. In private, I called Yasuhiko Mr. Tuning Fork because his writing was an impeccable, clear, and concise reflection of someone who had had the experience of the void, of someone who wasn't lost in the realm of metaphor. After reading even a few of Yasuhiko's sentences, I would receive an attunement. I do. His writing is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's the same thing I feel when I'm reading Osho. I feel like he's there. His energy is transmitting directly to my soul. There's no word is out of place. It's just, it's very zen. So I would receive, when I read his writing, I receive an attunement. My soul recognizes this, which means I'm on the path of remembering. And I know that we're not supposed to always be seeking for outward signs, but my question is, how do you know when you've had soul growth? I mean, you know, there's like surrendering, and then there's also the opposite of doing. It's kind of confusing. Anyway, that Yasuhiko called me friend and trusted me was an acknowledgement from the universe that spirit was working through me and that all my inner work had produced soul growth. This gave me a wonderful boost in self confidence and amplified my faith in life itself. I am forever grateful and will always remember him fondly. And that's an understatement. But he left me um, with this sense that um, I am a part of the universe. The universe is working through me. I mean, I know that that's easy to say, but I feel it. I know it. And that's what he's left me with, is that I feel connected and um, um, magical. I feel magical. That's it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. That's wonderful. Next up is Mark.
Blessings, everybody. Thank you so much for hosting this wonderful celebration of Yasuhiko. I'm amazed at how much of an impact he had on me in such a short period of time. I met Yasuhiko about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, but I feel like I've known him for decades. And it's because he did something that, Mira, was very unusual for me. And I've been in these sort of circles, like a lot of these people here, my entire life. I've been always spiritual, very in tune. And that was one of the first things Yasuhiko said to me, was he was always like that too. He was born with this gift, and he knew it was a gift. And I recognized it right away too. It's like, okay, this man's on a different level. And I was introduced to him by another guy who was on a different level named Brett Warsharsky. And he said, you really need to meet this other guy. So I said, okay, I trust your circles. And he was right. I did need to meet Yasuhiko because I was really in the weeds when I was, seeking somebody that was on this different level, because I was taking on the legal system and a lot of these toxic institutions that are conditioning us today. And we can see where it's leading us, right? It's not leading us towards agreement. It's not leading us towards alignment. It's not leading us where Yasuhiko's vision was saying we needed to go. And his vision and my vision aligned like immediately. But there was a difference, and it was kind of comical in the beginning, because his immense intellect led him towards Nietzsche in the end. And him and I surveyed the whole corpus of like philosophy, looking everywhere for the truth. You can tell a true seeker, somebody who's looking for the truth. You don't have to pay them to do it. And I really sensed that in him. But I said, why did you end up on Nietzsche? Nietzsche's kind of a darker, a tragic figure, but also an overcoming of that through the Ubermensch and like becoming your deeper self. Very empowering in a world that seems to be going out of control. So I suggested to him what I suggested to everybody, and I expected a normal reaction. But this is where he rose up, and I said, well, have you studied Hegel at all? And Hegel's sort of like the creme de la creme of philosophy. It's like nobody understands Hegel. It's like quantum mechanics. If you think you understand Hegel, you don't understand Hegel. So, unexpectedly, he knew about him. But he said, yeah, I don't really understand really what he was saying that was beyond what Nietzsche had already addressed. So I made a breakthrough in this area, and I communicated that to Yasuhiko, and he was at such a high level. He got it like on the first time. And I spent like, many sessions explaining this to people over and over and over again. He was just like tuned in. And I thought this man needs to be on the planet right now because we need to change the world. And so he made an instant impression on me. So I paid attention to him from that point forward. And I felt like, what could I do to bring his gift to the world in a more urgent and wise way? And so him and I started working together on how do we go to the smartest man in the world, right? Chris Langan and these very high level people to say, how do we bring this message and his work there and translate it into all these modes and make it more universal? And we both knew what that meant. Like it was so wonderful to work with somebody where you don't have to re-explain everything. He's teaching other people. And he told me about the social clubs the high culture clubs in New York and all the stuff that he was trusted with. And I can see why they trusted him. I want to trust him with a global governance model. We're trying to start like a global, like spiritual, wise government to stop the prisoner's dilemma and this race to the bottom where human beings are literally being left behind because these ruthless corporations are replacing humans with profit maximization, AI generating information. And he did not like that. So we were working together on something very urgent. And then I heard the news and I thought, oh man, we really need somebody like that right now in the world. We need people like him to be here. And so I think Mira, promoting his legacy and keeping his ideas alive is very important because he was onto what we're calling universal logic. He was not just talking about it, he was living that in a toxic environment that we're all in. But when you're that sensitive, right? Like he was really tuned in. He couldn't unseparate himself. But he had the wisdom to dance with that. But when you are that sensitive in this kind of culture, you take on a lot of energies, you take on a lot of things. And maybe that's what happened is he just cared too much for the world. And then his body reacted, and here we are. I tried to support him when you guys were down in Mexico. There are some treatments that maybe could save his life. We were talking about CRISPR, stuff like that. But it was a surprise. And when I found out, we just tried to save his life as much as possible and tried to be there for you guys in this chaotic situation that we're in. And then some of the stories he told me of your guys' travels when he went to the Peace Pentagon and all that stuff was, it's amazing to watch how spiritually enlightened people travel through the practical world and maintain integrity. So it was always entertaining to talk to Yasuhiko. It wasn't just profound. It was a special mix. And that special mix is why people gravitated to him, why we're here today. So what I'm going to do in his honor is I'm going to promote his ideas and keep the ideology alive in the living way that he had it, not the dead way. He didn't have a dead ideology. His was alive. And so that's exactly what we need. And I'm going to be dedicating my life and whatever is going to happen to the rest of humanity here, we're going to find out in the next year and a half to 2 years. I'm going to be promoting these ideas. And Shrikant, I was supposed to talk to you several times. So it's an honor meeting you finally. And thank you for doing such a beautiful job here, honoring such a gifted and profound man. So with
Thank you.
that, blessings to you, Mira. I'm here
Thank
for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. So now we're going to have people from 52 Living Ideas talk. Now, we don't know Yasuhiko that well, so please bear with us. So we'll try to keep it short, and then we'll again ask for kind of any concluding comments of maybe 1 to 2 minutes from anybody who wants to offer any kind of concluding comments. Okay. So we're going to go with, give me just a second here. Let's start with, so it's just going to be three of us, I think, maybe 2 to 3 minutes each. We'll go with that. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was, shocked when I initially heard that, he had fallen ill. And, I thought about, a couple of moments in particular when, I heard him speak. But there's one moment in particular that comes to mind is that when um, you and I, Shrikant, were actually in Philadelphia, and we were in Marcus's apartment, and I asked you, I said, who are the best thinkers of 52 Living Ideas? And you know, without any hesitation, you said Yasuhiko was one, and I mean, that really hit me because we've had some really amazing thinkers here over the years. And so, I thought about some of the things that you had said about him and some of the things that he had shared, particularly about the Tao. I thought when it came to the Tao, you spoke about how he understood really what it meant. And he understood the translations and he understood what it meant to have a philosophy of life. And his classes or teachings, his dedication to learning, uh, that was something that he shared. And I think what Tom actually just shared a moment ago was really one of those things that is an indication of what happens when you share your knowledge. um he talked about the idea between giving and receiving, and what Yasuhiko did was he gave, and he gave in a way that people remembered, and that he articulated the idea so beautifully that the difficulty sometimes is to receive, not to give. And when you receive something, and I've thought this for quite a while, um, what position would you rather be in? Would you rather be in the position of giving or receiving? And I mean, it's without a doubt you always want to be in the position of giving, but the way Tom just expressed it, is that if you don't know how to receive, you really don't know how to give. And the reason that that's so beautiful is that he shared that with Tom, and now that multiplies across multiple people, and that's the gift, and that's why virtue is so important. It has a multiplying effect. It reaches so many different people. It's real. And so the appreciation that I had was his gift, not only for learning, but his willingness to share. Also say that he, Mark was mentioning a moment ago, the idea of him, kind of, having understanding of both Nietzsche and Hegel, but he had a really deep understanding of Buckminster Fuller, and and spoke at length about that. And not a lot of people understand Buckminster Fuller. So and he was able to kind of relate ideas in a way that there was integrity between the relationships that he drew. They weren't necessarily superficial. So that was something that I found to be, unique, and in both his willingness to give and his ability to think.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. Next up is going to be Rupali.
Thank you, Shrikant, for coordinating this memorial. And Mira, my thoughts are with you. Um, I met Yasuhiko on 52 Living Ideas, so I've never really met him in person. And yet, even on the online platform, his presence was so profound. It didn't seem that he was so far away. He always seemed to talk to, like I felt that he spoke to me. And he spoke with this childlike innocence. He always had joy in his voice, and always very curious. When whatever interactions we've had, he wanted to learn, he wanted to know. And it was very humbling because, he was so knowledgeable. And um, when he spoke like a wise, he was a wise monk. And when you have all that knowledge, but also the humility to say, I want to learn more, was just amazing. And I always found that those two opposites, the childlike innocence and the wisdom that he had, that they felt like opposites, but in him they seemed like one unity, and it was almost like yin and yang, always in that balance of knowing and wanting to know more. um, and so, in his presence, he seemed like he was someone from ancient times. So when I first met him, I thought, gosh, I wonder how old he is, because he didn't look old, but he spoke like an ancient sage. And I felt like, he could travel that span of time between the present and the wisdom of the centuries of people who've come before us. And he could communicate that wisdom so easily to people of the present. Um, and I wondered, why was this so? Was it because he had immersed himself from a very young age in the culture and the spirituality of the East? Uh, or was it the present modern ideas of the Western world, of the founding fathers, the idea of America, which he held very dearly, and he understood that so well? Uh, he was able to bring those two together. They weren't separate, they were not different for him. And I think the goal for him was this one humanity, which was also like the study of Buckminster Fuller or many other philosophers that he had studied. And so while he seems to have been with us for this time on earth, he really has been around. I feel like he was always there through time. And he is in the present, he's always there, and he's going to continue to live forever in the future with us and with people who are going to come. And that's through the work that he's done, the legacy of what he has left in his work. Um, he always believed in the power of the individual. And as an individual, he's contributed so much to humanity. I think it's going to have an effect. And so I thank him, and Mira, I thank you for being alongside. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Rupali. So now I'll make some comments and then we will do closing, 1 to 2 minutes. And then finally we will end with, Mira, and Mira can take as long as she wants. So, um, you know, I was listening to everybody, and the thing that comes out of all of this for me is that Yasuhiko was a person, a genuine person. Actually, most people do not even discover what a human being is. He was just a human being. But most of us actually pretend to be something else. We are all kind of, but never really kind of discover and discover what you actually are and just be that. He talks about God is. And, I also am, each of us are. And there is a deep reality to that. And it's very simple, but it's profound. And that's just our nature. And unfortunately, most people do not actually get there. They're after something else because it does require almost a childlike simplicity. And it requires this profound wisdom to kind of look through everything and get to the root of everything. You know, the context in which I met Yasuhiko was on 52 Living Ideas. And in 52 Living Ideas, we were doing three major projects. We are looking at three religions: uh, Taoism, Hinduism, Bhagavad Gita. We're doing Tao Te Ching, Bhagavad Gita, and Gospel of John. And we had many other projects going on. We were doing Buckminster Fuller series. We were doing a series on Julian Jaynes. We did some things on Christopher Alexander. And no matter what it was, he was able to, I think somebody put it very beautifully, he was able to actually see how these people actually thought about it in the first place. How did Lao Tzu think of Taoism? In his hands, it was not like, okay, this is a book, but it's like a way of being for him. And he had so much sympathy for it that he was actually living that. When we did Bhagavad Gita, I was shocked that he was as at home in Bhagavad Gita. And then comes, the Gospel of John. He was completely at home in that. Then we're doing something on Louis Sullivan. We're doing something on Maria Montessori. On each of those, he had almost a personal relationship with, he had a personal relationship with Maria Montessori. Okay. Just like we heard from person after person that he had a personal relationship with each of us. And in that sense, he lives in us. Of course, Mira put it beautifully. It's like two becoming one being. And that is actually what love is. And that is a universal thing that is there, that speaks about who we are as individuals and who we are together. And it's where this giving and receiving is one and the same movement. It is not two different things. It's just one thing. You're so tied together that you do not know. You are distinct, but not separate. You kind of flow into one another. And only a true human being can do that. And only a true human being can do that with people who are so different, whether it is Jefferson or it is Lao Tzu or it is Hinduism or it is, it's just mind-boggling. It seems mind-boggling, but if you look at it, it's not surprising. They always say that when truth will be found, it will be simple. There is tremendous sanctity and sacredness to who we are, each of us. And that's just there. That's just who we are. we're kind of looking elsewhere, Takeshi talked about seeing the God outside. Really, we are looking at idols then. We are making idols and we are doing idol worship when we look at God outside. And we forget the God inside each one of us, the whole idea of omnicentric universe is that, it's just simply the idea of what a person is. And he was that. And look, just hear what everybody is saying. Everybody is simply saying, just admiring the grandeur of an authentic human being. And yes, he's going to live with us and in us forever. But and yes, he has great works, but most of all, he's going to live in us. That is the most real way, because paper doesn't capture the grandeur of a human being. It can only suggest it. And it's suggested because of the grandeur that you have in you to be able to see it. But the true grandeur is within. And that is what, my friend showed it to me. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. To me, you have given me, a really precious gift. And I hope to be able to keep doing this. And because this needs to live on a scale, and it needs to um, touch more lives. He needs to touch more lives. So those are my thoughts. Now, it's now time for kind of closing. So you can speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Anybody who wants to speak, you can raise your hand in Zoom or type an exclamation mark. And then at the end, we'll have Mira speak, and then we will close. So anybody who wants to speak, please go ahead. Type an exclamation mark. Any closing thoughts? Joe, let's go. Let's go with every people who have known him for a longest time. Okay.
Maybe I'll say something quickly though. The reason why I feel like I've known Yasuhiko for a long time is because the way that I met him was very personal. Like I think he revealed a side of himself to me that was not a lot of people know, and it made his story even more incredible for me. Like it was very human, Mira, to see that side of him, but how he carried on with this God side of him. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it was literally God level work that he was doing. And that's why I want to continue it. So I feel like he was in some sense 100% man, 100% God, and he had this incredible humility about it. So I feel like one of the biggest themes that he doesn't talk about, or maybe he does, but with me, he really, amongst his God level work, talked about you all the time. Every single time I spoke to him, we're talking about changing the world, building governments, and you would always make it into the conversation because you were a muse to him. You were an inspiration on a God level love, honestly. So blessings to you, and I hope in some way we can help fill those huge shoes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, let's see. Anybody else wants to have any closing thoughts? Krista, would you like to say anything?
I just want to thank you, Shrikant, for hosting and Mira, everything Mark just said, yes, we're here. We love you. We want to he lives in us and we want to help support that continuing and his work continuing to be a gift to the world, and however we can help with that, please let us know. And I'm going to suggest, and I can follow up on this later, that we do a group read of Bicameral Mind and maybe meet a few times to talk about it. So I will volunteer to organize that and send that out, even if we start in a few months. And then whoever might be interested, we could, meet and try to clunk our way through it. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Krista.
Love you all. Thanks.
Wonderful. All right. If nobody has more things that if you would like to add, Tom, would you like to say anything in closing?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing that stays with me the most about Yasuhiko really, apart from his patience, and he was a truly patient guy with people, um, was his tremendous sense of humor about everything. You know, I can't remember who said it earlier. It might have been Joey. I think Joey said it that he can still hear the laugh. So can I. Uh, Yasuhiko and I very briefly started a podcast together in I think 2022 or something, shortly after all the COVID hysteria had wound down a little bit. Um, and this is kind of a memory that I have of him now that I kind of cherish, really. Um, I think it sort of speaks to him really clearly. Um, we were just chatting about what we were going to talk about and how we should proceed. And what he said was, let's just try not to be stupid. And he said that with his usual laugh, So, I guess that's you know, and it's good advice, really. It's easy to fall prey to that sometimes. So yeah, just sense of humor, patience, tremendously kind, generous, the generosity of spirit. Like I said earlier, I'm truly grateful that we crossed paths. Um, Truly grateful. I can never really fully express how grateful I am for all of his patience and teaching, and I'm sure a lot of people feel that way as well. But um,
Thank you. Joy, would you like, I'm just going to call on people as I see in the order. Any closing thoughts, Joy? You're on mute. Can't hear. Oh, you can't unmute?
How about
Go ahead.
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, couldn't find the mute button. No, I'm very happy that I was here. Thank you again for setting this up. Um, I'm hungry.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Uh, my final thoughts, I'm craving hard-boiled eggs.
All right.
I'm crazy.
Let's see. Next.
Anyway, no, it is again, thank you everybody for your, for your sharings. And yeah, it was my pleasure to be here and to share.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Let me just see. Okay, I think we can just do the closing if it's okay. Mira, it's the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Shrikant. Talking about generosity, many gifts Yasuhiko gave to me. And one of the greatest gifts are the friends I met through Yasuhiko. He attracted so many exceptional people, as you can see. People all over the world. I met so many extraordinary people through Yasuhiko, that in this hardest time of my life, I have so many friends. That is the gift of Yasuhiko. So many true friends from all over the world. And I'm so grateful, Shrikant, you organized this. It is truly for my soul. I deeply feel the love from all of you for Yasuhiko. And love for Yasuhiko is love for me too. I thank you so, so much. And I would love that idea, Krista, you mentioned, because we can gather people together again. And you know, when we get together, always magic happens. I'm so grateful for all of you tonight being here and sharing wonderful things about my beloved Yasuhiko. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shrikant.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Mira. It's just, what you said about Yasuhiko and about your relationship, your marriage. I mean, it was the most beautiful thing that I have heard. So I am so grateful to you and to all these beautiful people here. So to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.